எடுத்து ரைட் மோட்ல போட்டு சார்ஜ் போட்டு 50% இருக்கு. அதிலே பண்ணி விட்டுலாம் மகாராஜ். நீங்க சொல்ற நடுவழி இல்ல
இது வந்து இருக்கட்டும், இப்பத்தி போட்டும்.
சரி. இல்ல நீங்க சொல்றது பேட்டரியா ஒயரா?
பேட்டரிக்கு இது சார்ஜ் பண்றது தானே. அந்த இடத்துல பின் இருக்கு.
அதான்
பேட்டரியும் போயிடுச்சு.
பேட்டரியும் போயிடுச்சா?
அதனால தான் நிக்க மாட்டேங்குது.
அப்ப பேட்டரியும் ஒயர் ரெண்டும் வேணும்.
அவங்க போட்டோ விலாசம் தான் லைவ் ஆகிட்டு யூடியூப் லைவ் ஆகிட்டு
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam. Shall I start?
Yes, Swamiji, you can begin the.
Huh?
Yes, Swamiji, you can begin the class.
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. My dear devotees, a couple of weeks back we were studying the life of Swami Adbhutanandaji Maharaj. The word Adbhuta means wonder. Swami Vivekananda used to say, Latu Maharaj, familiarly known, that is of Swami Adbhutanandaji. Latu Maharaj is a great wonder of Sri Ramakrishna. Because Sri Ramakrishna has made him as great as Swami Vivekananda and Swami Brahmanandiji and all other direct disciples, as great as them in spirituality. They were all Brahma Jnanis, and Swami Adbhutanandaji was no exception. He got Brahma Jnana just by serving Sri Ramakrishna and meticulously following the teachings of his master. He is a great example to show that how an aspirant, a spiritual sadhaka, can attain the highest state by meticulously serving the Guru and also very meticulously following the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, of his Guru. So the Guru Bhakti and faith in the words of the Guru, it can make you realize God, realize the Supreme Brahman. And Swami Adbhutanandaji was the greatest example for that. Now today let us see some more interesting incidents of his life and how an ideal monk he was in every aspect. It should help us, it should remind us, it should inspire us to follow the words of the Guru literally and then reach the highest state. As I said in the last class, Swami Adbhutanandaji could not live. At that time he was Latu. Latu is the name given by Sri Ramakrishna. His real name was Rukturam. He hailed from Bihar, half broken Hindi, half broken Bengali he used to speak. All were enjoying his childlike talk, childlike behavior, and everybody, that is, the other monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, used to enjoy his company. And he could not live at home. Then he pleaded Sri Ramakrishna, and ultimately Sri Ramakrishna accepted him as a servant boy or, and that is not as a companion, a disciple to serve him. He used to stay in the Dakshineshwar itself along with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was a great taskmaster as for the spiritual teaching which he used to give. He used to make his disciples to follow very meticulously. Sri Ramakrishna had promised, he wanted, Latu comes once and he says, I will not go back home. Sri Ramakrishna was in a fix. He was not able to keep him. Then he told him, I am going to Kamarpukur very shortly. What will you do then? He had no answer. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, no, you go. Go back home. I will take you at a proper time. So as soon as Sri Ramakrishna returned from Kamarpukur, probably after some months, Latu came again. Latu, all these days, he was constantly thinking. Not only thinking, he was remembering his master, and in the night, he used to go on shedding tears, remembering him, remembering him. His one thought was Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Ramakrishna alone. So, to an incarnation of God, if a disciple hankers like that, you can well understand how quickly he will progress in his spiritual life. Returning from Kamarpukur, the master was very busy for some days. Why? Always, almost daily, he was visiting Calcutta. All the devotees were all coming to Sri Ramakrishna. Now, they did not know that Sri Ramakrishna has returned. But Sri Ramakrishna remembered all of them. And every day he used to go in the morning and come back in the evening. And he used to visit Ram's house also. Ram means in whose house Latu was working, serving. And from then he would visit the house of other devotees of Calcutta. On these visits, Latu often used to accompany the master. On one occasion, when Sri Ramakrishna was attending the recital of the Bhagavata at the Jadumalli's garden, that is one of the another devotee, Latu came there from Ram Babu's house with a big load of fruits and sweets. Ram Babu used to always send fruits and sweets to Sri Ramakrishna whenever it is possible. Latu came there from Ram Babu's house with a big basket. It was the month of Kartik. The master said to him affectionately, my boy, the night is dark and already advanced. Why should you go to Calcutta? Stay for the night here. Those words fell on his ears like a nectar. Sri Ramakrishna is permitting him to stay at Dakshineshwar and in his own room for that night. Latu was exceedingly happy, for this was what he had been looking forward to with great eagerness. Latu regarded himself blessed when he saw his long cherished desire being fulfilled so unexpectedly. Afterwards, he did not go home at all. He stayed on with Sri Ramakrishna permanently. Now, that night, it is not so easy to stay with the master, because as you find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna used to sleep very little in the night, probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, and immediately he will get up. As soon as he gets up, he will start clapping his hands and chanting the name of the Divine Mother. And sometimes he used to talk with the Divine Mother, and one side will be heard, but one can understand he is talking with someone. That night, after the meal was over, last Latu started massaging the master's feet. As he was so engaged, he felt a sort of maddening effect on his mind. Kedarnath Chatterjee, a devotee of the master who was also present that night, narrated to us this incident later. That day what happens, Sri Ramakrishna gets up in the night and remembering Latu is there, he is sleeping. He says, "My boy, are you feeling sleepy?" Latu says, "No, sir, I am not." "Master, are you afraid? You have come here, you are staying with me. Are you afraid?" Latu, "No, I am not." "Are you feeling anxious for someone?" "No, neither that." "Then you are dozing." "No, I am not." "Why then are your eyes like that?" Latu was perplexed. He said, "How can I know?" Master says, "My boy, what has happened to you? Why are you staring at me like that?" Latu remained speechless. A minute later, tears started trickling down his cheeks. The Lord said again, "Why are you weeping, my boy? What had happened to you? I have never seen such a scene before." Then turning to Kedar, he said, "Just see, this boy is shedding tears without any reason and would not say anything." Kedar Babu said, "My lord, it is all your play. You have passed on spiritual energy into him. That is why he is so full of it." That very day, Latu was initiated by the master. Kedar Babu told this to many of us later. Now, the way of initiation of the master is very difficult to understand. Sometimes mere look would be initiation. Sometimes he would ask the disciple to stretch his tongue and write something on that. As soon as he writes something, some mantra, the disciple will go to ecstasy and tears of joy. It will be flowing. They will forget everything all around. Even the master standing in front, they will be in great bliss. So, how Sri Ramakrishna is to initiate is very difficult to say. Today, in that night, mere look of Sri Ramakrishna is bringing tears of joy. Latu is weeping, and he is in ecstatic mood. He does not know himself what he is speaking. Kedar Babu observed all these things and he understood the grace of the master is flowing on this sincere boy. How a God-man initiates is a mystery to us. He alone can describe it who has received it from him. It is impossible for others to understand. At the divine touch of the Master, Latu was carried away by a tidal wave of spiritual joy. We can but guess that under the influence of this bliss, he was speechless, motionless, and of steady fixed eyes. From that day onwards, Latu started staying with him. Now, Sri Ramakrishna, another day in the night, he calls Latu is sleeping on the mat just near the cot of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna called Latu. Latu. Latu was whole day working, serving the master and doing all other things. He was a little tired and probably he has slept. Then Sri Ramakrishna calls him, "Latu, Latu." 2 times calling is enough. He gets up. "Yes, master, what can I do for you?" Then master says, "Latu, if you sleep in the night and if the whole day you work, then when will you meditate? When will you do japa? Are you not interested in realizing God? You cannot afford to have sleep in the night." Then Latu immediately has the excuse and gets up, sits and goes on doing japam the whole night. Not only that, it is said that that was the last night Latu slept throughout his life. Only in the daytime he will snatch 1 or 2 hours and sleep, and the whole night he goes on repeating the Lord's name doing japa. And in the very presence of Sri Ramakrishna, we can well understand it is not very difficult at all. We may feel in the night, if you sit for meditation, within a few minutes we fall asleep. We will not know at all that we are sleeping. But in the case of Latu, because of the presence of the master, and after some days, it becomes a habit for him. And because the teacher, his guru has said, if you sleep in the night, when will you meditate? It becomes a great mantra to him. So he never slept. There is a very funny incident which happens later in the life. That is, when he was staying with when staying at Baranagar with other monastic disciples. And Baranagar, as you know, was famous for it was called as a ghost place. Lot of ghosts used to stay there, it seems. It was a very dilapidated house. But these great sannyasins, in front of their severe austerities, they were never afraid of ghosts. Swami Brahmanandaji, later on in many times, when he is meditating under a tree, once it so happens in Vrindavan, he was meditating under a tree, and on the tree there was a ghost, and that ghost was playing mischief. It used to pluck leaves, dry leaves, and put it on the head of Swami Brahmanandaji Maharaj. Brahmanandaji Maharaj was in deep meditation, but after some time he got up and he felt somebody is disturbing. He saw a ghost is sitting there and laughing at him. Brahmanandaji becomes angry. He tells that ghost. He was not afraid. He looked up and said to that, hey ghost, why are you disturbing my meditation? Come down, sit with me, and you also meditate. Just imagine what daringness it is, what fearlessness it is. Even by hearing the name of ghost, we become afraid. But Raja Maharaj did not care at all. So then that ghost simply disappeared. So here also, in Baranagar Mutt, it was known for ghosts. So one night it so happened, all are sleeping. Suddenly some tuck, 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 tuck sound started coming. Then one of them got up. They saw where is from this sound is coming. They burnt the candle, lighted the candle, and taking it, went around seeing, is there a rat, or is there a ghost, is there a bandicoot, what is it sound is coming. When they went, as soon as they get up and light the candle, the sound will stop. First they thought probably a rat is somewhere playing mischief, and seeing the light it comes away. Few times it happened. Then ultimately, Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyananji, he said, don't put on the light. I will go to this, where from that sound is coming. That side I will go and find out. And they found it was coming from one of the monks who was sleeping there. Then he silently went near that, pulled out he has completely covered himself with a kambal. He pulled out that kambal, and there he saw Latu Maharaj is sleeping, and there is a big Rudraksha mala in his hand. Somebody has given him a very big Rudraksha mala. So that he's lying down, sleeping, not sleeping actually, lying down and doing the japam. Because it was a big Rudraksha, it used to make sound like that. Then, oh, here is the thief, Swami Turiyananji shouted. Then all laughed. Then Latu Maharaj said, no, my Guru has said, don't sleep in the night. So I was doing japa. Everybody laughed. So, till the end of his life, he kept up that. His night sleep means he did not know what it was. Then, as I said in the last class, Latu Maharaj did not know reading or writing. And he did not know the Bengali also properly, nor the Hindi, because he never went to school any time. So, Sri Ramakrishna thought all his other disciples are learned. They are all reading scriptures, and scripture reading is good. So Latu, because of this handicap, he is not able to learn. Then he thought for himself, no, I should teach this boy something. He asked one of his disciples to get the alphabet book, the first Bengali alphabet book. It was brought, and Sri Ramakrishna told Latu, Latu, if you live like this, how will you study scriptures? Come, I will teach you. Then Latu Maharaj very obediently came, sat in front of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna started teaching from the first alphabet A, I, E, U, all those things he taught. Then it came to Ka, Kha, Ga, Ga, Nga. Sri Ramakrishna said Ko. Then Latu Maharaj repeated Ko. No, Sri Ramakrishna, not Ko, Ko. Again he said Ko. He could not utter Ka. Always he was telling Ka, Ka. Some 8 or 10 times Sri Ramakrishna said, and to repeat, and he was repeating Ko. Then Sri Ramakrishna asked him, showing little anger, Arey, for Ko, if you say Ko, then when I teach you Ka, what are you going to say? Again Latu Maharaj said Ko. So both the times he is telling Ka, Ka. Then Sri Ramakrishna laughed and he closed the book and he said, no, enough. You need not have to learn anything, but by your spiritual practices, by your realization, Saraswati will sit in your tongue and give advices to the devotees. You need not worry about learning of any scriptures. So Latu Maharaj, later on, if you see the teachings of Latu Maharaj, you'll find his teachings he was not giving any lecture and all those things. He'll make them all. Whoever devotee comes and does pranam and puts any question, he will answer in a very simple way. But that simple truth, just as Sri Ramakrishna used to answer, in the same way he used to answer. And one day, but he was very, very obedient and following the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. So, now he also learned from Sri Ramakrishna how to do pranam. So, now this is a very interesting thing and a very interesting teaching also for the disciples, for the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna and for any devotee for that matter. Because how to do pranam, how the master initiated him into doing of this pranam. One day, a rich devotee of Latu Maharaj saluted him. In the later days, a rich devotee comes to Sri Latu Maharaj and he salutes him, and as is usually done in Bengal, by rising and joining the two hands above his head. That is just like this, he did namaskaram. That is usually some of us also do in the same way when we see the elders. But that is not the correct way for a spiritual aspirant, especially into the gurus or to the sadhus. When you go and do pranam, you have to do it properly. Sri Ramakrishna, Latu Maharaj said to him, look here, one should bow down to sadhu and monks and to the gods and goddesses. The master used to say, this sort of axe-raising salutations bring no merit. Remember that. Axe raising means when you hold an axe, if you want to cut some wood or something, you hold like this and do like this, do like this. So, doing pranam like that, holding like this and doing like this, it is no pranam. It is not befitting when you do it a sadhu or a saint or a guru or an elderly person. You should do the pranam very proper way. Sri Ramakrishna says this. Another devotee present on the occasion was amused at this and asked with a laugh, what is this axe-raising salutation, Swamiji? Latu Maharaj said, the kind of salutation that you usually do by touching the forehead by joined and upraised hands is what Sri Ramakrishna termed axe-raising salutation. One day Girish Babu saluted Sri Ramakrishna thus. Immediately the master bent himself at his waist and saluted Girish. We were witnessing the scene, Latu Maharaj says. At this, Girish bent himself lower and saluted. The master lowered himself still more. The competition ended when Girish fell flat on the ground and bowed to the master. Then Sri Ramakrishna blessed him. It is for this Girish Babu used to say, this time master conquered the world with humble salutation. As Krishna, he conquered the world with the sound of his flute. As Chaitanya, with the Lord's name in this incarnation, by bowing down to the people. So that is, Sri Ramakrishna says. Then the devotee says, Maharaj, we did not know all do like that. We have learned from them. We did not go deep into it. Please excuse us. So Latu Maharaj teaches that devotee, probably he may be rich, especially people will have little ego. They do not completely fall flat on the ground and do pranam. They only do half pranam, bending these legs and other things. So these sadhus don't mind, but it will not help the spiritual aspirants to progress in spiritual because we should be absolutely egoless. The doing of pranam mainly is to conquer your ego, to cut your ego, so that humility, humble. This humility has to come by doing pranam properly. Sri Ramakrishna, even though an incarnation of God, when the devotees come and do, first of all, he will not allow them to do pranam at all. But if they do pranam like this, he will bend further and do namaskaram, so that he will think I'm lower than the lowest on this earth. So that feeling has to come in every one of the devotees' heart. So in everything, Sri Ramakrishna used to teach him. So then then the another thing, Sri Ramakrishna he used to balance all the four yogas always. Even though he will tell always do meditation, do prayer, do this, do that, all those things. But he used to give importance to everything, and especially serving the poor, especially giving service to the others. He used to emphasize that. One day in Latu's life, it so happens he was sitting deep in meditation at the Panchavati. Sri Ramakrishna was passing through that place. He saw Latu. He has come from his room passing through the Nahabat. In Nahabat, he has observed that Holy Mother was preparing chapati, or that he was mixing the dough with water and she was preparing. Then Sri Ramakrishna comes near Latu and pats him on his back. And after a long time, he was unaware of that Sri Ramakrishna's presence. He was deep in meditation. Slowly, he comes to external consciousness and he opens his eyes and he saw his master standing in front of him. Immediately, he prostrates to Sri Ramakrishna. Then the master tells him, "Oh, Latu, what are you doing? And whom are you meditating?" The Divine Mother. On whom you are meditating, she is preparing chapati in the Nahabat. Go and help her. Go and serve her directly. That will be the greater result you will get than your meditation. That means service. That means sharing the work with others. That means feeling that the presence of the Divine Mother in every human being. Then Latu Mother immediately gets up and runs to Holy Mother. And it was another fact that Sri Ramakrishna allowed very few disciples to go and move with Sharada Devi. He was one, and Buddha Gopal, that means Elder Gopal, he was called as. He was another whom Sri Ramakrishna has said to Holy Mother, you can call him whenever you have got any work, he will assist you. So these two people, Latu Maharaj and Buddha Gopal Das had the free entrance to Holy Mother's Mahabhat. So Sri Ramakrishna makes him understand serving the Holy Mother. We also should understand by that Holy Mother was none other than Divine Mother herself. So Latu Maharaj goes there and he helps her. So Sri Ramakrishna teaches Latu by that service is as good as serving doing the meditation. So another day, Sri Ramakrishna, while talking, he tells Latu, Latu, you see, be careful about woman and gold. And also, he tells him that be careful about the drunkards and the drinking is a so bad thing. You should now be very, very careful about it. So it so happens, at that time he used to come from Ramlal's house to Dakshineshwar. On the way, there used to be a wine shop. So Latu one day he was passing through it. The wine shop, what? That smell of that wine will come. That Latu smelled a little. That smell entered his nose and he felt very bad. Immediately remembered the master's words, oh, be careful about this drinking, he has said. So what he did was, next day onward, he avoided that road. As a result, he has to cross another 3 miles. 3 miles extra he has to walk to avoid that road. But Latu did not mind. Already it was about 6 miles from Ramdas's house. Now another 3 miles, 9 miles he used to walk and come. Then Ramdasa one day asked the master, what have you done? This boy is walking 9 miles every day. Sri Ramakrishna, why? No, there is a wine shop on the way. So to avoid that wine shop, he takes another road. Master was pleased how literally everything what I said, he grasps and he follows. This is the way of obeying the teacher's words. Sri Ramakrishna tells to Latu, he was very much pleased. And later on, this was in his mind. Latu Maharaj's mind, it has got so deep. Throughout his life, he was very, very careful about women. Swamiji had also observed that, and he knew, Arey, you are a very pure person. Why are you afraid? You never used to talk even to the women. And he will bend down his head whenever he sees a woman or something like that. So, one day Swamiji, after returning from America, one day Swamiji and Latu Maharaj, they were crossing the river by a boat. That boatman, Swamiji and Latu were sitting opposite in a little at a distance, and Swamiji thought I will make a fun for Latu. And what he said, this boatman had a small daughter. She was sitting with that boatman, about 6 or 7 years old. Then Swamiji called her, come here. That girl came running. Then Swamiji said something, you go and tell to that opposite one, Swami is sitting, you go and inform him, tell him this. So she, innocently she went. When from the distance itself, when Latu Maharaj saw this small girl coming, he said, don't come near me, don't come near, he said. But she did not understand, she laughingly, she went very near Latu. Latu Maharaj got frightened and simply jumped into the Ganges. And started swimming. Then Swamiji became alarmed. He said, Arey, what are you doing? Come. And he gave and extended his hand and pulled him back to the boat. He was so meticulously following the Guru's words that women don't entertain women in any way, any form. So women and gold is out of the question. He never kept money any time or anything, even begging and all. If somebody gives money, he will not accept. He will ask only for a food. And he used to take that and this one. Then Swami Vivekananda used to make too much fun of this Latu. He used to call him, you are he used to call him Plato. Plato, he used to call him and he says, you are a great person. You are a Plato. You are more learned than all of us. He used to say. And one day, during the early mystic hour, that is Brahma Muhurta, Latu, following the master's orders, woke us up. The day was yet to break. We hastily took our wash and sat down to repeat the Lord's name. Said the master, today dive deep into the loving repetition of the Lord's name. Saying this, he started singing. Wake up, Mother Kundalini, wake up, and went round and round us. He went on singing, and we were doing japa. All of a sudden, apparently, without any cause, my whole body, this is Latu Maharaj is telling, my whole body had a violent shake. And Leto cried out, Luhu. At that day, the master pressed his hands on his shoulder and pinned him down there and said, don't get up. Remain in the posture you are in. Don't move. I observed Lato was feeling great pain, but master lost his normal consciousness. The master was still singing the song. He sang it that day for more than an hour. Thus, even though the songs he used to transmit through song, he used to transmit spiritual power to us. So one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, that he tells that now it is easy to guess from the above mentioned incident that the master awakened Latu Maharaj's Kundalini that day through song. Scriptures say that this awakening of Kundalini is the door to all kinds of spiritual experience. Without this, no vision or experience is possible. The master would say, after a great deal of endeavor, this awakening comes. When Kundalini is roused, it starts from the Mooladhara and passing through Swadhisthana and Manipura reaches the Anahata opposite the heart. Then the base propensities that have their sources in the lowest three plexus are transcended, and the mind, thus freed from mean emotions, is oriented towards the Lord or Atman and sees the light. Amazed at this new experience, it cries out, ha ha. That means from Mooladhara to Sahasrara, Sri Ramakrishna that day raised the Kundalini of Latu Maharaj. So by mere song, Sri Ramakrishna as I said, by mere song and mere touch, one can, Sri Ramakrishna used to raise the Kundalini of the disciples. So later on, Latu Maharaj was so much. One day it so happens at Udbodhan, very near the Udbodhan where mother was staying, he was staying across the road. Somebody has given him a room to stay. Room means what? Not rented or particular. Simply whenever he used to go there, sit there and meditate and other things. Holy Mother was to go to Jairambati. Then so all the sadhus had come from Belur. They all were all going and doing pranam. Then someone went and said, Latu, mother is going today. Don't you go and do pranam? He was totally in a ecstatic mood. He was not in his external consciousness at all. Then he started telling, who is mother? Who is father? And she is a lady. How can I go? Why should I go and prostrate her? So many things without his own knowledge he was uttering, and he did not go to mother. Then somebody went and told mother, Latu is there staying in that opposite room, but we told him, but he is not coming to do pranam to you. Then mother just laughed. And then just while before going, she herself went to that room. And Latu, I am going today to Jairambati. Don't you say goodbye to me. Then immediately he fell flat there himself. Mother, there is nothing but mother in this world. And excuse me. And he fell flat at the feet of the Holy Mother and went on crying, shedding tears, tears of joy. So mother slowly lifts him up, and then she says goodbye to him, and she goes. So in what condition Latu Maharaj used to stay, we do not know. Sometimes he used to stay, he used to go and get up, and there was once a good strain. He got it up. It was empty. Simply he sat there for meditation and went into deep samadhi. Then the goods train after some time has left that place and it has gone and he is not aware of it at all. After traveling for a few miles, suddenly he got up. Then I saw the train is moving. So when the train stopped in the next station or somewhere, he got down and walked all the distance. So place, circumstances was nothing. Sri Latu's mind used to merge in samadhi. One day he was sitting in a house anywhere, wherever he gets a place, he will stay. He is not a choosy. And sometimes he used to stay in a press. There was a press called Basmati Press. That owner was his friend. So he will go and stay there. On the paper bundle itself, he will sit and meditate, or he will lie down in the daytime, do whatever he wants and other things. So no particular place was required for him. His mind always used to remain completely absorbed in God and always repeating the Lord's name, Sri Ramakrishna's name, continuously. The mouth has become so much accustomed, his tongue will always go on repeating the Sri Ramakrishna's name. So this is how Latu Maharaj's life was a very simple but very austere and then at the same time unconcerned of the external things. But he was equal to Swami Vivekananda when the attainment of Brahmajnana. And Swamiji also was aware of it. And that's why he loved him so much that here is a man, an unlettered man, and a rustic boy who can, by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, who would reach the state of Brahman. So there are a number of teachings of Latu Maharaj is available and reminiscences are available if we read it. But while reading, we should read carefully. Every bit of the Sri Ramakrishna's association with Latu is a great teaching for us. So everybody who used to come to Latu Maharaj, even during Sri Ramakrishna's time, they used to they show so much respect to Latu Maharaj because his was a God-centered life. He was unaware of the external world, even though he was living, moving about, teaching, and his teachings are very original and wonderful. What all Sri Ramakrishna has said to him we may not find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, because many times Master will not be present when Sri Ramakrishna is moving with Latu and taking his service and teaching him and preaching him and all those things. So Latu Maharaj used to remember all those teachings, and later on, whenever a devotee comes and he asks for something to tell about, immediately he will start telling. And one devotee wanted to write the life of Latu Maharaj. Then because his life is not known, even today we do not know the exact date of birth. He never used to discuss those things. Why do you talk about that silly matter? He will say. And this devotee was insisting, no, something it will be want to write your biography. My biography, why do you waste your time? And you will print and it will be a waste of time for the readers also. Instead of that, write the life of Sri Ramakrishna, write this life of Swamiji, write this life of Holy Mother. That will benefit you and it will also benefit the readers. So you used to avoid like that. There was no place for ego in his heart at all. Humble like a blade of grass. And he was so devoted to Sri Ramakrishna and a saint. He was a great saint. So by reading his life itself, it is a great inspiration, and learning from his behaviors and his teachings, one will easily able to realize God and keep the mind always in a higher level. So let us become blessed by reading his life and following his advices, and it will definitely inspire us and also make us know many of the things of Sri Ramakrishna, which we now do not find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. With this, we can conclude the session.
Yeah.
Thank you, Swamiji. Jai Ramakrishna.
Yeah. Right.